Hi, my name is Carol Mockhammer. My daughter has been out of control since she was 13 years old. She's been in prison. She slept with my stepson on my wedding day. I'm suing her for medical bills because she jumped on me in a pool, and she needs to take responsibility for her actions.
Cue the defendant.
My name is Angel Lampy. My mom is such a drama queen. She has been married 7 times. She's so desperate. I don't owe her anything in medical bills. It was a bruise. She just wants attention.
Carol is suing Angel Lampy, her daughter, for medical bills. All right. You say that your daughter is a wild child who had a baby at the age of 15, can't support the baby. You stepped in and adopted your daughter's baby and are now raising the child as your own. And you also claim that your daughter, Angel, has slept with several of your friends and even her own stepbrother?
Yes.
Is that true? Have you had sex with your mother's friends?
Not my mother's friends, but before they were married, her and her last husband, which is number 7.
You've been married 7 times?
Yes, Your Honor. I was married for the first time at age 15. I was emancipated at age 14.
If you were married at the age of 10, 7 is still a lot.
You're right, it is. It absolutely is. And I say I regret a couple of them, but it's brought me to where I am now. I've grown up a lot.
All right. Did you have sex with your stepbrother?
They weren't married. They weren't married at the time. It was
on my wedding day, Your Honor.
You're about to be stepbrother? Yes.
They had met, and she was with her last husband at the time.
That's a yes or no?
Well, yeah, I slept with them.
On my wedding night. On my wedding day.
How did this relationship go so bad?
Your Honor, Angel and I have had a very tumultuous relationship ever since she was the age of 13, and ever since then she was a perpetual runaway. She would constantly leave school, be truant for school, and run away for days and weeks at a time.
She's shaking her head.
Oh, she did. She ran away several times.
Why are you shaking your head, Angel?
There was a time when me and my mom weren't getting along because she'd raised me as her friend versus her daughter. And then when she started laying in rules, I didn't know how to take it, and we'd argue. Well, she'd grab a grocery bag, a brown paper bag, fill it with my stuff, kick me out.
No, Your Honor, I've never kicked her out.
And then she would call me in as a runaway. About 15 times after she did this, I finally got smart, and as soon as she threw me out of the house, I went directly down to the police station and said, look, my mom's about to be calling me in as a runaway. Then they went back, and that's how I became a ward of the state, because they wanted to charge her with abandonment.
So you would run to the police station first and say, my mom's going to call you and say I'm a runaway? That was very smart.
I didn't know what else to do. They would pick me up wherever I was with my brown paper bag and bring me home.
I've never, ever kicked her out of my home. I wouldn't do that. I want her to become a responsible person.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you're going from husband 3, 4, 5, 6 to 7, I mean, at some point, I'm sure some of them are like, we don't want your daughter here.
It is what it was, and I regret a lot of it.
What did you do, meet a guy and marry him? I mean, how many guys do you date in your life?
No, when I was 15, the first person I married was her biological father.
Right. And isn't that interesting, Carol? You're pregnant at 15, she's pregnant at 15.
Correct.
Isn't that interesting how history repeats itself?
Right, and I never wanted it to. I wanted so much better for her.
So where was her father?
Her biological father, he has not seen her since she is 6 months old. I don't know where he went.
Never met him.
Do you end up going to foster care? Is that what you said?
I ended up being, I guess, a ward of the state. I ended up, when I had my son, I was living in government-funded housing. I wasn't living with her at the time when I actually physically gave birth to my son.
Were you both pregnant at the same time? Did I read that?
I got pregnant, and then she spent $15,000 on intro vitro fertilization to get pregnant 4 months later.
Did you really?
I had gone through a very bad bout of cancer, and in order to get pregnant, I had to go through in vitro. I have a 10-year-old daughter now.
So you have a child the same age as her child?
Correct.
And you're raising them both together?
Yes,
the boy
they're both
and the girl.
my children.
You had a son?
Yes.
Why do you have custody of her son?
Well, he was born premature at 33 weeks. She was on a home for unwed mothers, so she could get some help while I was still supporting her. I was seeing her almost every other day, going down as much as possible, trying to support her so she could raise this child.
So why didn't you have her move in with you?
My husband was very abusive, Your Honor. He became very mentally unstable.
So throw him out and bring your daughter home. What's going on with you and your mother?
That guy she's talking about right now looked at her and said, well, it's either me or your 14-year-old daughter. Choose. So at that point, she could have chose. But, I mean, as far as everything else that's going on...
All right, you acting out, you running around, getting crazy.
I was, you know, a little bit of a troublemaker, and I was looking for attention, and I'm trying to get attention anywhere I could, but, I mean,
Did you get arrested?
Not when I was younger. No.
When you were older?
When I hit 18, when I
stole a car.
I borrowed my boyfriend's mother's car. They pulled me over, and they're like, well, who does this car belong to?
Right,
I gave my boyfriend's information.
Did you have a conviction?
Yeah, it was driving without the owner's consent.
Without the owner's consent?
Yeah.
And it wasn't sealed? The record wasn't sealed?
I did my time, and...
Well, how much time did you do?
2 years.
What?
It was up in Clinton, Iowa, where everybody's very, very tight, and they were trying to make a very big example out of me. They said that they didn't even let me out on my own recognizance because I was from out of state. They made me stay in jail for 6 months.
You ever heard of someone going to prison for 2 years for borrowing your boyfriend's mother's car? Even if she was stealing it, it's still the boyfriend's mother.
Gotta be something else to it.
What'd you do before that, Angel?
Before then, I had never had a charge or anything.
All right, good. What are we here for? We're here for cannonballs.
Cannonballs.
Yes, Your Honor. Myself and my smaller 2 children and some other family members decided to go to her apartment building where she invited us to go to her pool. Let's go swimming. So we all went over there. I'm just floating along on my back with a couple of pool noodles.
You're floating along the pool with pool noodles?
Yeah, you know, the long styrofoam pool noodles. I have to have something to hold on to because I can't go below a certain area in the water or I'll freak out. I'm really afraid of water.
Okay,
and
so
she
you're in
knows
the pool
this.
with the noodles.
Yeah, and I was just floating on my back, and she came from the side and jumped into a cannonball, rolled herself up, and landed right on my pelvic area. I can't even describe the pain that I was in automatically, besides being absolutely terrified because I got plunged underwater. And I'm still standing there 15 minutes in the pool crying my head off, begging for them to call an ambulance. I couldn't get out of the pool.
Why?
My hip was so swollen automatically. I have the pictures, Your Honor.
Let's see the picture.
The first picture, Your Honor, is the night of the accident. The second picture is 3 days later.
Oh, ooh.
And this is my
that's some bruise.
Leg and pelvic area.
That is some bruise.
The doctor...
Why did she land on that?
My foot.
With her, I believe, with
That's
her
a footprint.
The doctor said that if I had been a man and she had hit me in the testicles, he'd be pulling them out of my body. That's how hard she hit me.
What'd you do to your mother?
I had been doing cannonballs all day in the pool.
Why would you be doing cannonballs all day in the pool?
To splash the kids. They like it.
I don't.
Well, you're afraid of the water.
I'm
what
terrified
are you doing?
of the water.
Where are you doing cannonballs? In the deep end or the low?
In the 5 foot, which is the deepest part of the pool.
If you're afraid of the water and you need a noodle, what are you doing in the deep end of the pool?
I wasn't. I was right near the steps where it was 3 feet.
No, well...
I was by the 3 feet because I was near the
She was by the
children.
edge of the 5 foot, but she was still by the edge.
Did you see your mother in the pool?
Yeah.
You knew she was in the pool?
Yeah.
You knew she was afraid of water?
Yeah.
You don't even like your mother?
No, I like her.
You do?
Yeah.
I love my daughter, Your Honor. I want her to be responsible. This was the straw that broke the camel's back for me.
Broke the camel's hip.
I've had so many incidents with her over the years of borrowing money or doing something,
You know what, Mom,
this
listen,
is it for me. I can't pay my medical bills.
I got a tip for you. Get past it. All right? You weren't
yeah.
the best mother. You weren't the best mother.
No.
You're married to 6 or 7 guys. All right? This girl's life wasn't easy. She was acting out. You've got custody of her son.
I adopted her son. He's my son, Your Honor.
Ooh, here we go.
I've had him ever
How
since
did
he
she
was
adopt
2
your
years.
son?
I had him when I was 16.
Right.
He was born 2 months early, and I was living in state-funded housing. He had a sleep apnea monitor where he had to wear this at night. He would stop breathing, and I would have to get up and give him CPR.
Did you agree to give the custody to allow your mom to adopt him?
Temporarily.
No,
I thought it was
listen to me.
only going to be temporary.
Angel, listen to me. What you did here was you gave your son away to your mom. All right? Courts make it very clear in adoptions that this is a permanent thing.
Well, I didn't go to court. She had the paperwork brought to the house. I signed it. I signed it on the kitchen table.
You just signed your son over without going to court?
I asked her if I could have a lawyer. She told me no.
I wasn't there. It was a CPS,
You were there. The
person,
CPS
social
worker came over. To our
and
house.
signed. They came to her apartment, and I was there. Yes,
Your
and
home.
he
You just said you weren't there.
I was outside, and then he asked me to come in to witness her signing the paper. So what happened is when she signed the paper, it was supposed to be temporary until he reached the age of a year old, or she came back and was able to show me she could take care of him. That's why when we filed adoption, we waited till he was a year old.
This is very scary. All right, you've got a young girl who has a baby. She just turned 16. Her mother comes in with Child Protective. She signs over her child. Within a year or 2 years, it becomes permanent. She's never been to court. You've never been to court on this issue? That's a shame. And here's the problem. Adoptions are seen as relatively final in this country because they don't want to upset the apple cart on the child's belief regarding who is the mother. This is a problem. I suspect, and hope springs eternal in my mind, I suspect you're always going to have a problem.
I want her to have more and more to do with him, and recently in the last few months, her and I have started to develop a relationship and I've explained to my son that he's adopted. He knows that, and he knows
that she's the mother?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Well, here's
because that's what's right.
My verdict is almost insignificant compared to this. What you've got to do is try to establish a relationship with your son, and be as honest with your son as your mother was not with you. That's a tough one. All right. You think your daughter jumped on you intentionally or cannonballed you intentionally?
I think my daughter didn't intend on me getting hurt physically. She intended on me getting hurt mentally because she knows my deep fear of the water.
What were you doing in the pool all day with the noodles at the deep end if you're so afraid? The question is, do I think she wanted to harm you? No. Do I think she wanted to scare you? You're damn right she wanted to scare you. She's trying to get even with you for all the stuff that's gone down in the past 10 years. All right, there's no question in my mind about it. So it's a question of proportion here. Are you responsible for being in the pool, putting yourself in a situation where you couldn't get out of the way? Are you responsible by putting someone at risk by engaging in behavior which could have hurt him? Absolutely. You're both at fault. Now I have to figure out, with girls gone wild over here and, mommy dearest over here, how much I split $5,000. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you 50% of what you're asking for. I want you to take that $2,500, and I know you've got bills, and I just have a feeling you may already have paid the bills. I want you to spend them on facilitating the mother and son getting together.
Sure, I'll take
You got that child in a way that I don't think it should have happened. Verdict for the plaintiff, $2,500.
Well, my son's always had a big part with her when she's around, and I will always continue to do that.
I love her regardless. No matter what we've been through, she's a strong person, and she's here for me now, and I'm going to appreciate her and enjoy her until the day she's gone.